Keir Starmer has been trying to position himself as a bold wartime leader, but not everyone is buying it. One of Donald Trump's closest allies has just unleashed a brutal takedown of the Labour leader, accusing him of playing pretend as Winston Churchill. In a fiery interview, he ripped apart Starmer's approach to Ukraine, mocked his leadership, and made some jaw-dropping comments about Russia and Vladimir Putin. So, what exactly did he say? And why has it sparked such a fierce reaction? Let's break it all down, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Just a quick one to say we have new Liber t-shirts available on our website. You can check the link in the description or go to BritishStand.com. Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, has launched a scathing attack on Keir Starmer, accusing the Labour leader of trying to play the role of Winston Churchill with his Ukraine policy. Speaking in an explosive interview with conservative commentator Tucker Carlson, Witkoff dismissed Starmer's vision for an international peacekeeping force as naive, claiming it was driven by a simplistic desire for Western leaders to mimic the legendary wartime Prime Minister. Witkoff didn't hold back in his criticism, arguing that Starmer and other EU leaders failed to grasp the complexities of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. They all think they've got to be like Churchill, he said, mocking what he described as a Western obsession with strongman leadership. But it wasn't just Starmer in Witkoff's crosshairs. His remarks about Russia and Vladimir Putin have also raised eyebrows. During the interview, Witkoff made a series of controversial statements about the Russian president, calling him super smart and admitting that he actually likes him. He went even further, rejecting the idea that Putin is a villain on the world stage. "I don't regard Putin as a bad guy," he said, adding that when they met just 10 days ago, the Russian leader was gracious and straight up with him. According to Witkoff, Putin even prayed for Donald Trump after the assassination attempt against him last year, and had a portrait of Trump commissioned as a personal gift. But perhaps the most controversial part of the interview was Witkoff's take on Ukraine itself. He questioned whether the world should start recognizing occupied Ukrainian territories as part of Russia, calling Ukraine a false country. He argued that Russia has long viewed these regions as its own, dating back to World War II, and suggested that this perspective is the real root cause of the war. He stated, "The elephant in the room is there are constitutional issues within Ukraine as to what they can concede to with regard to giving up territory. The Russians are de facto in control of these territories. The question is, will the world acknowledge that those are Russian territories?" However, when pressed to name the 5 regions Russia has partially occupied or annexed, Witkoff appeared to struggle. The largest issue in that conflict are these so-called 4 regions: Donbass, Crimea, you know the names, and there are 2 others, he said. In reality, the 5 affected regions are Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Crimea. Witkoff also made a number of claims that have been widely disputed or debunked in the past. He asserted that Ukrainian troops in Kursk were surrounded, something that has been denied by Ukraine and is unverified by independent sources. He also claimed that occupied regions of Ukraine had held referendums where an overwhelming majority voted to join Russia. However, these referendums were widely condemned as illegitimate, with reports of coercion, rigged results, and voter intimidation. Witkoff's remarks come at a crucial moment, as the US prepares for separate talks with Russia and Ukraine in Saudi Arabia to discuss a possible ceasefire. With tensions high and global leaders struggling to find a resolution, his comments are sure to fuel even more debate over the future of the conflict, and raise serious questions about how figures close to Trump view Putin's war. As Starmer pushes forward with his Churchillian approach to Ukraine, he now finds himself in the firing line of one of Trump's top allies. But will his strategy hold up? Or will it be dismissed as little more than political posturing? One thing is clear, this war of words is far from over. In other news, disgraced former Labour MP Mike Amesbury will still be eligible to draw his parliamentary pension, despite being convicted for punching one of his constituents, as we understand. Amesbury, who served as an MP for almost 8 years, will be able to claim up to £12,000 per year in pension funds due to his length of service. The ex-MP punched 45-year-old Paul Fellows 5 times and stood down as a Member of Parliament after being handed a 10-week jail sentence, suspended for 2 years. Founder and CEO of charity One Punch, Maxine Thompson-Curl, said, "We feel that this is just another insult to the victim of Mike Amesbury. The sentencing was absolutely shocking, and out of respect for that poor man and his family, Mike Amesbury's pension should be affected by what he did. As far as I am concerned, he should receive no money relating to public revenue. He has let the public down. No remorse." The Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, EPSA, added, "The Parliamentary Standards Act states that MPs receive a salary until they cease being an MP for any reason. EPSA has no discretion over this. Therefore, an MP who leaves Parliament, whatever the reason, becomes a deferred member of the MP pension scheme, and any contributions made will remain in that pension. It is not within IPSA's gift to change this. Amesbury has been collecting his £91,000 per year salary 5 months on from the assault, which was carried out on October 26th in Frodsham, Cheshire. Until March 17, the former MP has only faced financial penalties imposed by the court, including £200 awarded to the victim, £85 in court costs, and a £154 victim surcharge. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp said, "Mike Amesbury has brought Parliament into disrepute by violently assaulting a member of the public, and he should be relinquishing his taxpayer-funded pension." A number of former MPs are understood to have found it difficult to secure new positions since losing their seats in June last year, with some earning less than £1,000 in the last 9 months. Amesbury said, "I devoted nearly 8 years to serving my constituents. Unfortunately, I made a serious mistake, for which I accepted responsibility, facing the consequences through the legal system and the loss of my career. I fulfilled my obligations, including paying taxes, pension contributions, and national insurance." Angela Rayner is expected to face off top British business chiefs in a coordinated attack to destroy her deeply damaging overhaul of workers' rights. Since coming to power last July, the Deputy Prime Minister's colleagues have urged her to dilute the plans so that they become more palatable for industry leaders who have long opposed her vision. In an attempt to water down the plans, business bosses are drafting a joint letter to send to the House of Lords before a debate on the Employment Rights Bill is scheduled to take place next week. In their general election manifesto, Labour pledged a new flurry of laws would see the end of exploitative zero-hour contracts and assume flexible working to be the automatic default for everyone. Business leaders have expressed their concerns that Rayner's radical plans will suffocate businesses and smother the industry in red tape. They also fear that overhaul will impede any attempt to combat the national benefits crisis, another issue which Labour has promised to tackle. A draft of the letter to the Lords has warned of grave unintended consequences of giving workers further day one rights while the Prime Minister is under pressure to increase living standards across Britain. Rayner's bill is due to be scrutinised by the Lords this week and has just passed its third reading in the House of Commons. Under Labour's new plans, some of the new workers' rights will include a day one right to request flexible working. The law will also grant employers the ability to take companies to court for unfair dismissal from the day they start the job, and grant a handful of new powers to the unions. Written by the Confederation of British Industry, CBI, the letter chastises the decision to giving the employer the right to claim unfair dismissal, arguing that such a measure would make businesses hamstrung. The letter has also asserted that such a radical overhaul would allow the unions to behave unreasonably. It reads, "Our collective position is that, as currently drafted, the bill will have deeply damaging implications for the government's priority growth mission, but also their admirable focus on tackling rising economy and activity, and the growing number of young people currently classified as NEET. Taken together, that is a recipe for damaging, not raising living standards." The letter will be sent by the B5, a group of business groups including the British Chambers of Commerce, CBI, Federation of Small Businesses, FSB, Institute of Directors, IOD, and Make UK. Businesses will be forced to make difficult choices between jobs, investment, and growth, as the headroom for higher employment costs has already been more than taken up by the increases in employer NICs, it adds. In addition, there are key areas where the scope of the policy that will be enacted by the bill goes far beyond the outcomes outlined in the Labour manifesto. As such, the risk of grave unintended consequences has been compounded rather than addressed. It reads, the letter summarises, "Together we are calling upon the Lords to fully scrutinise and improve this legislation in order to find a landing zone that is genuinely both pro-worker and pro-business." A government spokesman said, "Through our transformative plan for change, this government has delivered the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and our measures already have strong support amongst business and the public. We've consulted extensively with business on our proposals, and we will engage on the implementation of legislation to ensure it works for employers and workers alike." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.